If I took away your marketing, your website, your social media, even your sales processes, would people still trust you enough to do business with you? Your reputation is not built on what you say. It is built by what people repeatedly experience. If you're building towards 6 or 7 figures, you've probably already realized something. The higher you climb, the less people buy your offer and the more people buy you. They buy your integrity, your consistency, your follow through, your emotional steadiness. They buy your ability to keep your word, because at this level, trust isn't just some nice to have. It is your most valuable business asset. Today on the Crown Yourself podcast, we are going to talk about something that almost cost my 8-year-old one of the most valuable things he'll ever own, his reputation, with me. I'm Kimberly Spencer, founder of Crown Yourself and mentor to founders building businesses rooted in sovereign leadership instead of survival. I work with entrepreneurs at 6, 7, and 8 figures who realize their next breakthrough isn't just some marketing funnel. It's becoming the kind of leader that people instinctively trust and stepping out from the shadows of their business to build their authority and become known as the obvious choice. After coaching hundreds of founders in high-level one-on-one containers, I have learned something fascinating. The scale sustainably aren't built by the smartest leaders. Sorry. They're built by the most trusted ones. And trust isn't something that you just earn one time. It's something that compounds every single day. This is the Crown Yourself podcast, where we explore subconscious success strategy, sovereign leadership, and conscious business growth so that you can build extraordinary success without sacrificing who you are in the process. My mission is to help high-performing leaders stop building businesses from pressure, proving, and hypervigilance, and start building from peace, integrity, and sovereign identity. Because your greatest competitive advantage isn't your strategy, it's your character, your story, and your authority. If you're ready to build the kind of reputation that creates referrals, opportunities, partnerships, and trust long before you make a sales pitch, stick around. And if you haven't already hit subscribe, you're going to want to do it on this one, because every week we're helping you become the kind of leader that your future legacy requires. So this episode really came from a conversation that I was having with my 8-year-old. Because I won't share what he did, because that will stay private, but he did something that broke my trust. Me and my husband, we were like, man, that was a big mistake. Like, that really broke our trust in his ability to hold certain responsibilities around the house. And that sucks, because he was working so hard. And I think the thing that we think about with visibility opportunity, marketing, and it got me thinking about the trust economy, and especially in the era of AI, where we can just AI and algorithm, and people want to have and work with leaders who have a level of discernment from their lived experience, who have developed a keen eye with judgment, that have walked the path and trotted the path before them, rather than AI. AI can give you how-tos, but it's not always going to give you the best how-tos for you, for what you need. So discernment comes into play here, and discernment can be a part of your reputation and how you build trust. But back to my 8-year-old. So we're having a conversation with our 8-year-old about trust, and he's really upset. I literally let him know. I said, dude, you broke our trust. And he was like, okay, well, you're never going to trust me again, ever. And I was like, that's not the case. I said, but the problem is trust takes time to compound, and it takes a second to break. And the second you break it, you gotta go start back from maybe not ground zero, but you're starting from a few steps back at least. Sometimes if you do a really big mistake, you may be starting at ground zero, or like negative ground zero. But it takes time to work back. So there are 4 trust accounts that we have to be building. And I'm not talking about like an actual like trust that you put your money and your property and your assets into. I'm talking about the trust that comes internally with you abiding by your word and leading with integrity. And the shift that will come in your team, in your leadership, in your health, and your wealth when you start leading from a place and integrity is founded with the roots of trust. So there are 4 trust accounts that we have to play into because each one of these stacks onto each other. So number 1, we want to trust ourselves. Do we trust ourselves to make the best decision? Do we trust ourselves to keep our promises? If you say you're waking up at 6 a.m. to work out, are you actually? Or are you waking up at 6:15 or 6:30? Are you finishing what you start? Do you say that you're going to grow your business to a certain level and then every year it just that number just keeps on going on repeat instead of really truly chasing after that goal? Are there multiple projects or multiple books? I know I had this for myself personally for years. I had multiple unauthored half-written books that were started but weren't completed. So when I wanted to make Every Podcast Want You and take that to bestseller, I had to make that book make sense for us financially, for that to be correlated to my businesses, because some of the other books, they were for where my business was a decade ago, or they were for where I was a decade ago. And I wanted to have a book that I saw through to the finish line because I knew that my trust in the role of being an author was unfounded. I had uprooted my own trust in myself to be able to completely finish a book. So I had to build that trust that I could complete and become a solo best-selling author. I had to complete that trust by finishing the damn book, and I had to get it out there. I had to promote it. I had to get on and keep that promise to myself to become a solo best-selling author. So finishing what you start is a huge one. Do you follow through on commitments or do you drop the ball? When you say you're going to deliver a proposal, do you deliver it on time? Do you deliver it a few days later? Do you follow up? Self-integrity is what creates self-confidence. And every broken promise to yourself is a withdrawal from your internal trust account. When we feel like we're abandoning ourselves, it's because we're making those withdrawals from our internal trust account because we're not doing and fulfilling on the promise of what we say we're going to do and fulfill on. If you have a revenue goal for a monthly revenue goal, that in and of itself can be a broken trust if you keep on missing that goal. If you say that's your goal, but you don't run toward it with the expectation that it's going to be fulfilled, if you don't try, test, play with, figure out a way to make that happen, then that goal is just kind of a pie in the sky goal rather than in it phrase at the trust that you have with yourself and with your business to deliver. So you want to keep on with making sure that you're holding goals in integrity with what you believe you can grow to, with your capacity, and that you are working toward those goals specifically, measurably, and building that trusted ecosystem within yourself first and foremost. Second, you have trust with your team. Do you have follow through? Do you have clear communication? Do you repair quickly when mistakes happen? Do you communicate when mistakes happen? This was a big one for me recently with a team member. I had my trust broken with this team member because I had hired them for a specific role. They failed to perform at the role. They failed to communicate that that was the issue because there was a client facing issue. They failed to communicate that directly to me and they didn't try to repair it. So that was an immediately sign for no, you're not meant to be a part of this team. Are you owning your part instead of defending it? And this is a big one when it comes to trust because so often our egos are going to want to be right. Our egos are going to want to defend ourselves or going to want to blame, oh, I couldn't get the logins or, oh, I couldn't do this. But ultimately, we have to take responsibility that if that's your job and your role, you got to own your part instead of defending it. I was having a conversation about this with my 8-year-old as well, because man, 8 to 9 is a whole new ballgame for parenting. But being able to say, you need to recognize when you did wrong, when you made a mistake. And instead of defending yourself, instead of defending the circumstances, instead of telling and trying to explain and defend your reason as to why you made that mistake, how can you just own it and then do your part to quickly repair it? And the easiest one to do is to say, wow, I messed up. How can I make this right? How can I make this right? A simple question will help rebuild the trust. Number 3, trust with your clients. The small moments matter. One missed email, it isn't about a missed email. It's about safety. It's about reliability. It's about the commitment to the relationship. Every interaction are small deposits or withdrawals into that trust account. And finally, we have number 4, trust with your reputation. And this is a big one because on the internet, you've seen a lot of coaches kind of get taken down or business owners get taken down because what they say does not match what they do. And reputation sounds exactly like interest. One impulsive decision can damage years of credibility. Inflating your reputation when your skill set is down here and you haven't yet mastered certain things, but you're promoting certain things in your business, that also can create a fray in the trust with your reputation. When people discover, you said you had this skill set, you said you could do this for me, but you actually are not there yet with your business, or you're actually not there yet. You're promoting something that you haven't actually done or that you haven't helped others to do. The goal isn't about perfection. It's about the congruence of repair, and it's about the integrity that you have. I was working with a client of mine who works with a ton of top business coaches, and she's a podcast producer. And she was telling me that on the inside of what she sees from their dashboard, from the downloads, from all that, a lot of the numbers are inflated. I was having a conversation with another client who's a consultant for restaurants, and he said, out of all of his clients, only 20 have actually given real numbers. Now, the problem is that if you're so concerned about your reputation, you won't ask for help when you actually need it because you're embarrassed. Shame will love secrets, and shame will try to hide in this mythological reputation that you've created for yourself, but that mythological creature becomes a dragon eventually. The problem is that if your reputation is inflated, and your skill set and your revenue and your markers, your weight, whatever it is that you are kind of hiding or downplaying that doesn't quite match the reputation of how people perceive you, what happens is then you have an imbalance in your skill set because people perceive you in one way. You know your skill set is down here and you haven't yet achieved that level of mastery. So what happens? You don't ask for help. You hide your shame because that is what creates shame and guilt, because you know you're not at this level. People perceive you to be at this level, but you know you're not there yet. And so what happens when you're in shame and guilt and in an emotional frequency of shame and guilt is it prevents you from actually asking for help because you want to protect this reputation that is now all ego built, instead of honoring where you're at, humbling yourself and saying, look, I may have figured out a few things and people come to me to support them in a few things, but there are some things that I don't have figured out, and I'm going to need help on those things. It shocked me when I was having a conversation with a client of mine in an Ascension audit where he's a consultant for high-level multi-million-dollar business owners. And he said the amount of times that people have given the actual numbers of their revenue, gross, and profit, 20%. 20% were truthful because they believed they would rather maintain their reputation being a multi-million-dollar business than admit that they had a cash flow problem or they had a profit problem or they actually had a down couple of revenue years. All of that creates a disparity between your reputation and your skill set and your level of mastery, which prevents you from seeking help because the ego will love to keep you stuck in an illusion of your reputation. So the goal is not to have your reputation inflated. And also the goal is to not have your skill set and expertise so inflated, but you downplay it so that other people who inflate their reputation and don't have the skill set don't match. We want to have them equal. As we say here at Crown Yourself, the brand, the reputation, that is the queen. But she needs to be supported by the king who's got the skill sets, who's got the structure, who's got the systems in place that can connect the two so that they both can live integrated in union. Not in a space of one is higher than the other or one is more powerful than the other. They need to be integrated, the king and the queen united together. And when your reputation exceeds your skill set and your expertise, that's when the queen has inflated and she's like, lock the king in the dungeon. Versus when a lot of our clients, what we see is just the opposite, because one of our highest values is integrity. And so a lot of our clients have up-leveled their skill set significantly. They've mastered aspects of their business. $500,000 and above, and they're at that 6 or 7 or 8 figure level, and they have that skill set mastered. They know how to operate a business at that level, but their reputation is here because they have the reputation of consistency with their clients. But as far as a brand reputation out on the interwebs, beyond the scope of their existing clients, how the world knows them to be, they've downplayed it. They've kind of hidden behind it. And that's where we come into play to say, like, let's balance out the king and the queen so that they can reign together. So I want to ask you, like, where are you with your reputation? Where are you with building your trust with yourself? Do you trust your own reputation, or is your reputation a little inflated? Have you been downplaying your brand identity? Have you been downplaying your brand, your skill set, because you want to appear humble as part of your reputation? What trust withdrawals have you been making to yourself, to your team, with your clients, and with your reputation? If you love this, comment below and let me know how we can support you in building up your trust with yourself. Comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube and let us know, where is one area where you get to working on trusting and building up your trust with yourself so that you cultivate not only an external reputation in your field as being an expert and a leader in your industry, but also an internal reputation of trust with yourself, that you know you're going to keep your word, that you're going to operate in integrity, and that you're going to go for your dang goals like your life depended on them, because they do, because maybe it does. And I'd invite you to look at, where are those reputation leaks? Where has maybe your ego inflated your reputation and the perception of how people perceive you? And where has your ego also swung the pendulum in the other direction, downplayed your awesomeness, your badassery, your expertise, how amazing you are at getting client results, the outcomes that you provide, because both of those need balance. If you love this episode, make sure to like it, subscribe, follow, because we do this dance every single week. And I am so honored to serve you. And if you want more, then click down below and take our Sovereign Leadership Assessment. You'll get to see which wound is running your business, where you get to heal, and what area of your business you get to focus on in order to shift, to build and create a greater union between your reputation and the results you get for your clients. I'll see you in the next video.